There we go. Now we have sound. Okay, so can you hear me now? See, I act like I'm standing on stage and I'm going to have everybody going, whoop, whoop, we can hear you. Well, if you can hear me, say something in the comments. Let me know you can hear me. Apparently, I did not do an audio check before we got on. However, I had somebody mention to me a little while ago that I looked like I hadn't slept in about 3 days. And it was because, this was a couple of shows ago, and it was because I forgot to turn on my light. So it is important to turn on your light. Now, help me remember this. The one that has the almond flour in it is the clear bowl. So I have a quarter of a cup of lupin flour in the clear bowl. And we're going to do half lupin flour and half almond flour in that one. And we are making biscuits today. So there we go. We've got about 26 grams of each in that bowl. Okay, so now hopefully we can carry on with not quite so many snafus. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, so the lupin flour, I will leave a link. Now this, we'll see how this tastes. Maybe this is going to be amazing enough that I'm just going to want to use it all the time. I don't know, but I will tell you that this is most definitely much more expensive than almond flour. Now, I have suggested to you guys many times that you use almond flour, coconut flour. I had never heard of lupin flour, and lupin flour is made from the lupin bean or lupini bean. Pardon me. Now, you know what? Since you guys didn't actually get to hear me, I've got to show you my apron that I'm wearing today. That's what I do. I cook and I know things. So, that's what I do. Okay, so let's see how much I know today. So far, we've had an audio snafu and we've had a couple of measuring snafus, but from here on in, it's just going to be all good. Okay, so we have half almond flour and half lupin flour. And why am I doing that instead of just doing it one way? And it's because from everything that I've been reading about lupin flour, it can be a little bit bitter. So I wanted to cut this recipe in half and make sure that we weren't doing anything that was going to give us a bitter taste, or at least not wreck a whole bunch of ingredients. Lupin flour it's actually quite a lot more expensive than almond flour. However, if you have a nut allergy and you can't use almond flour, coconut flour isn't always appropriate for every recipe, or maybe not even a nut allergy. Maybe it's a nut sensitivity. I don't know. But one way or the other, this is going to help with that. Now we are going to put in, if I can find the right teaspoon here, we are going to put in a quarter of a teaspoon of xanthan gum. Okay, so that was almost a boo-boo again because since we've cut this recipe in half, yeah, we're going to put in a quarter teaspoon. That's what we're going to do. You know, I have these discussions with myself when I'm cooking, when you guys aren't here with me, and sometimes I confuse myself. Oh! Okay, so we have our almond flour and our lupin flour and our xanthan gum in each one. Now, as well as that, we are going to add half a tablespoon. Let's get a half tablespoon measure. That's a teaspoon. You know, there are not very many. Well, we're going to just eyeball it. How about that? You know, I don't know if my grandmother even owned any measuring cups or measuring spoons. She was the most fabulous cook. And she just knew. She could go by feel how much you needed. She taught me a lot of what I know, and I will be forever grateful to that mother for sharing with her granddaughter. And to my mom. So if you guys are joining me live, then please say Happy Mother's Day to Kay Kaiser, who is my mom, and she's here today. So let's celebrate all moms, but you know, I'm a little biased, so for me, we're going to celebrate my mom just a little bit more loudly. Okay, now we've got our flour, we've got our sweetener. What do we need next? Baking powder. We need half a teaspoon of baking powder. Now the half teaspoon measure they do. I don't know why they don't do half a tablespoon in most sets, but they don't. Now you want to make sure that you get all of your dry ingredients mixed first. Good morning, Evelyn. And happy Mother's Day to you too. Happy Mother's Day to you too, Sherry. You know, Sherry is going to be a new grandma, but not in the way that you guys think. Sherry is a very dear friend of mine, and she has a little miniature horse who is expecting a little miniature baby in a month or so. So I'm just a little bit excited to meet that little one. So for any of you that have ever loved any kind of a baby, whether it's a human baby or a puppy or a little horse or whatever it is, if you have that maternal love in your heart, you need to be celebrating yourself today. And that's just the way I think about it. Okay, so we have baking powder, xanthan gum, we have our flour and our sweetener. So now we are on to our wet ingredients. So we're going to add 1 egg to each bowl. Now usually when I do this, and you guys know this, at the end I always try to remember to, whoops, in this bowl, I always try to remember to take a bite of things, and hopefully I'm not too busy babbling to remember to do that, but I don't always remember. Okay, now the next thing that we need is half a teaspoon of sour cream. Now the interesting part of this experiment for me is going to be the difference that the almond flour makes in the other ingredients. So do we need to adjust it anymore? And I don't know the answer to that. I guess we're going to find out together, okay? So we'll see if I have time to take a bite of this when they're done. They only have to bake in a 400-degree oven for about 15 minutes. Now these might not be quite that long because, as you can see, I have my brownie bite pan here because we don't need great big huge biscuits. I could have made them bigger, but okay. Now we need half a cup of cream in each bowl. Okay, now we are just going to beat this up. Now, do you remember the discussion that we had a while ago, for those of you that were here, about beating things until they are absolutely smooth? And this is not one of the things that we want to beat until they're absolutely smooth, because they're going to rise better if we don't. So it isn't that you don't beat it up at all, you do. Now we're going to see in this experiment today if this holds true for lupin flour. Now I said a little bit ago, lupin flour is made from lupini beans. Yes, it is a bean. It is a legume. So why on earth would I be bringing anything that is a legume into a keto kitchen? And I don't bring things in, although every now and again I find something stuck in the back of my cupboard or my fridge that I didn't know was there. And the reason that I did it is because of something that we all know. There is an exception to every rule. And the lupini bean that we make lupin flour out of is that exception. Because the reason that we don't eat legumes is because legumes have got inflammatory proteins. And, you know, plants don't have claws and teeth. So in order to protect themselves, they have protective chemicals in them, protective protein compounds. Or so usually it's the lectins in beans that cause gastric upset. And, you know, that's how come you have the beans musical fruit rhyme, right? But this bean, rather than being inflammatory, it has anti-inflammatory properties. It really is amazing. Now, I'm going to show you guys. We have the almond flour in the clear bowl. I'm going to put the ones with the almond flour at the end that has the, oh, here we go. I'll show you this over here. This end has the Pampered Chef label on it. So we're going to put the almond flour ones in that one. Now you can see I'm using my, now that might not be mixed quite enough. Huh. We're just going to give that a little bit more of a stir. Make sure that we've got all of the wet ingredients off the bottom. There we go. You can see that my homemade baking powder is just puffing this up right in the bowl before it even gets in the pan. So we're not going to make great big huge ones. We're going to make littler bittier ones. Now this is a Pampered Chef pan that is non-stick, and I don't use a lot of non-stick stuff in my kitchen. I would rather not. But I do like this Pampered Chef pan, and I am hopeful that it is non-sticky enough that when these come out of the oven, they will release nicely. Okay, this is going to be just about perfect. We're going to get about half a pan of each. Now, is lupin flour something that should be a staple in your keto diet? Well, as far as taste goes, we don't really know the answer to that yet, but we're going to find out this morning. But as far as price goes, you know, I have people say to me all the time, I wish I could do keto, but I can't do keto because it is too expensive. It is expensive if you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be. If you are using keto to lose weight, doing any kind of baking should be for a special occasion, like, I don't know, maybe Mother's Day. And so these are going to come out of the oven, and they are going to head to my mom's house. Now, if you live in Alberta, or you listen to news about Alberta, you'll know that we are locked down in Alberta. And even though that's true, well, it doesn't taste like it should be bitter. I'm going to add a little bit more into that one. Okay. Now, use a finger that I didn't lick. Yeah, that doesn't taste bitter. Now, those are the almond flour ones. So now let's turn this pan around, and on the other end, these ones are just lupin flour. And you can see, maybe, but this is just puffing up beautifully, even though it isn't even in the oven yet. That's one of the things that you can do to make keto baking a little bit cheaper, is make your own baking powder. It is easy. And I have a video up about that, so please go and watch it. So whether you're watching me on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch or wherever you are, you know, click the buttons and click the follow and the like and all the things that you need to click so that we can hang out here 3 times a week on Mondays, or on Sundays rather, Wednesdays and Fridays. I'm here to hang out with you guys, and I gotta tell you, it is one of my absolute favorite parts of the week. Now, I think I'm filling this side a little bit too full, but we are going to have a full pan one way or the other, even if I have to adjust things a little bit. So what are you doing for Mother's Day? I want you to share with me in the chat your favorite memory with your mom, or your favorite mother memory. If your favorite memory is a memory with your kids, then share that. Because I would love to know, and we all need to know, we need to celebrate ourselves as mothers as much as we celebrate our moms. We get to an age where, you know, we're busy with our kids or with our grandkids, whatever the case may be. And sometimes we just forget to take time for ourselves. So today is the day, ladies. Take time for yourselves. And if we have any guys watching, you need to take time for your ladies. That's important. Okay, now we're just gonna, yeah, I know, noisy, sorry. And we are going to pop this into a 400-degree oven for 15 minutes. So those are going to come out of the oven in a little while. And for those of you that were here on Wednesday, you know that I am doing a Mother's Day brunch, or at least that's what we were doing in the live. And I am actually, I'm going to be going to my mom's. Now in Alberta, we're not allowed to have get-togethers indoors unless you live alone, which my mom does. So she's allowed to choose 2 people, and I am very honored to be one of her people. So I'm going to take brunch to my mom's house, and we're going to spend some time together. And that is absolutely going to make my day, my Mother's Day, very special. And the messages that I'm getting from my children. And so I hope all of you are doing something today. Now, I know some of you are going to be traveling, and some of you are going to be busy taking care of your families, whether it's just your husband and your kids, your grandkids, whatever. Take some time, have a glass of wine. You know, with keto, you can actually have a glass of wine. Not often, but make sure that it's a really dry red wine or a dry white wine, and only have about 5 ounces. But don't cheat yourself that just because you're doing keto. If you're doing it now and again, it's absolutely not a problem. Now, I was going to do something else today, and you know what? I'm not remembering what it was, but I will show you something that I'm going to be taking to my mom's house in a little while. Don't tell her. Even if she's here watching, that's fine. Okay, so remember the quiche that we did on Wednesday? I did some new ones for today. And so we will be having quiche, and we will be having these wonderful biscuits when they come out of the oven. And hopefully they're going to come out of the oven. Turn the light on. Hopefully they're going to come out of the oven in the next, Alexa, set a 10-minute timer. So we'll set a 10-minute timer,
starting
and
now.
We'll figure that out. So when you look at lupin flour, let's take a look at this, because you know I am the queen of read the labels, right? So when we read the ingredients first, organic lupin, that's what it is. One single ingredient. That's what we're looking for. Anything that needs a filler, we don't want it. Okay, so the next thing we're looking at is the nutrition facts. In 2 tablespoons, so 15 grams of lupin flour, there are 6 grams of carbs. That's a lot. That's a lot, until you look and you see that out of those 6 grams of carbohydrates, 5 grams are fiber. That's better. So now let's compare that to almond flour. Now, I buy my almond flour at Costco, and it is blanched almond flour, so that gets rid of some of most of the chemicals in almonds, and I'm trying to remember the name of it, and it's just escaping me right now. But they're in the skins. So if you are using blanched almonds, then you're good to go. You're not going to have to worry about that so much. Now, in a quarter cup, 28 grams. So that's twice, just about twice the amount. We have 5 grams of carbs, and 3 grams of that is fiber. So that still leaves 2 grams. So that means that it's even. If you split that in half, you've got exactly the same thing, for the most part, that you do in lupin flour. Now, almonds do not have an anti-inflammatory property. They're not terribly inflammatory if they're blanched. The skins on them, yeah, I'm not remembering right now. But let's just change this there. There, that's a little bit better. So this actually has anti-inflammatory properties though. So if you are just recovering from surgery, if you are battling a cold, if you have any inflammation currently in your body that is giving you grief, this is a good answer if you're baking something. Not baking something is a better answer, and just having single ingredient foods, meat and green vegetables, cauliflower, and some healthy fats. And the healthy fats, I know you guys all know this, stay away from seed oils. And I know you do that already. I hope you do that already. If you are thinking about doing keto, you don't have to do keto alone. There are people in every city, pretty much, that know about keto. And you don't even have to go and see someone. If you need a coach, you know how to get hold of me. You can get hold of me on Facebook, on YouTube, however you want to get hold of me. Now let's take a peek at these and see what they are doing. Oh, and they are starting to turn brown. They are beautiful. So they're going to be coming out of there pretty quickly. And so if you guys want to hang out with me for a couple extra minutes, we've got about another 6 minutes in the oven to go, and I think I'm going to leave them in there for that amount of time. And I am going to get out my cake tester now, because pardon me, because it's in the Brownie Bites pan rather than in larger muffin tins, they're not going to take as long to bake, so we're going to have to keep a close eye on them. And hopefully, they are wonderful and delicious. Now, the brand that I bought is Eco Ideas, and I got this on Amazon. So I'll leave a link. Yeah, 6 grams of protein. So it's got protein and it's got anti-inflammatory properties. It's got lots of good stuff. So what are you doing for brunch today? Are you doing brunch today? If you are intermittent fasting, maybe your eating window isn't until supper time. I don't know. Now, I am going to use this and just check these because I do not want them overdone. Oh my goodness. You know what? We have maybe 1 more minute left, but it is not going to take long. Now, did you guys see my sign? I've had this up for a couple of days, but I haven't pointed it out. Whether you work in acres or hours, take time to enjoy the day. And that is not just for the guys driving the tractors. It is for the gals driving the tractors and taking care of the guys driving the tractors, and for all of you. So make sure you do that today especially. Okay. I am going to have to make an extra stop today when I go to my mom's house to pick up some more eggs, because you and I, we've used a lot of eggs this week, and I'm going to be using a lot more. So on Wednesday, what do you want me to do on Wednesday? What would you like to see me do here on Wednesday? Let me know in the chat. I would love to know your ideas. Okay, I am going to check these one more time because I have a feeling that these are ready. Yep, they are looking ready. So, how long have they been in there? about 8 minutes. So we'll see. We will see. Now these look like they are just going to fall down a little bit, like more like oh yeah, these are done. These are beautiful. You guys are gonna love this. I'm so excited. Okay, so do you remember which end we put the almond ones on? Okay, well, I do, so we're good. Okay, so this end near the Pampered Chef logo is the almond flour ones. So let's get one of these out of here. And look at that. That is absolutely beautiful. Okay, now I am going to let you guys take a look at this lovely pan. Okay, here you go. This is what we've been working on, and I have to be really careful because I get sidetracked and I end up grabbing onto a hot pan. So this is the almond one, and this is the lupin flour side, and these are coming out of this pan very nicely. So almond flour first, lupin flour second. Should we taste them? I think we should. Okay. We're going to put some butter on these because what is a biscuit without butter? Okay. Now these are just bite size. So this is the almond flour one. I'll add a little bit of butter. You know, that is similar to almost to a cornbread. It's actually quite nice. Now the almond flour side, I will say the almond flour side has stood up a little bit better. It seems to have a little more body. Not a lot of difference in taste, although here's something that's surprising to me. The ones with the almond flour in it, if I did, oh no, wait a minute. Yeah, this is the one with the lupin flour in it, isn't it? Ha! They're a little more bitter. So I think going half and half with almond flour and lupin flour, it's going to do two things. If you can handle almond flour, it's going to cut down on the cost of your recipe. It's also going to cut down a little bit on the bitterness. So it's not really bitter. If I wasn't really looking for it because I'd heard about it and read about it, I don't think I would have noticed it. It's more like a cornbread than a biscuit, but it's delicious. So with your lupin flour biscuits and your quiche and whatever else it is that you're having for Mother's Day, I hope you all have an amazing day. Alexa, stop. And there's our timer. They should just be coming out of the oven now, but they are done and they are beautiful. Have an amazing day. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope you all do your best to live your best version of this shining life. I'm going to go and do that with my mom today, and I